Did you just book a cruise from Rome only to learn that it's really leaving from a port you've never heard of called Civitavecchia? And now you're wondering if you should book a hotel in Rome or closer to the port. You might also be wondering if you'll have time to do any sightseeing in Rome before you take off on your cruise. I just flew from Dallas to Rome for a Mediterranean cruise, and those were the questions that were running through my head. In this video, I'm going to show you where I stayed and how I made the most of my pre-cruise time in the magical city of Rome. So if that sounds like a good time, you're in the right place. So let's get into it. Hi guys, I'm Rocky, and welcome back to the channel where we talk about all things related to cruising. I just got back from a fabulous Mediterranean cruise. I left out of Dallas and luckily had a nonstop flight into Rome. The flight lasted about 10 hours, so got in to the Rome airport and took a taxi from the airport to the hotel. I stayed at the Holiday Inn Euro Park Medici. I'll put the name in the caption because I'm probably butchering it and I'm so sorry. But it was really nice. I am an IHG member, so I like to use my points whenever I can. So that was a great opportunity to do that. So I got into the hotel, checked in, and actually I stopped by and had a little cocktail before because, like I said, it was a very long day. So I had a little cocktail and then checked into the room and then went down to have dinner right there at the hotel. And I mean, I wasn't really expecting much because it's like, oh, it's the Holiday Inn, you know, it's not like a 5-star restaurant or anything, but I was really surprised. I got the pizza and it was delicious. And we also had some sliced steak, and that was also really, really good. So it was definitely a winner for both their bar and the restaurant, and everybody there was lovely. It was really, really nice. So that particular hotel is maybe about maybe 20 minutes, if that, from the airport. So it's really close and convenient to the airport. However, it is a little bit farther away from the city attractions in Rome. So you might want to consider that when booking your hotel wherever you're going to stay. So for me personally, I'm glad that I decided to stay in Rome as opposed to Civitavecchia because I thought that there would be a lot more to see and do in Rome, even though I hear that the port town is really nice and there are things to do there as well. Since I had 2 pre-cruise days, I decided to stay there so that I could really get in as much as I could. So that's exactly what I did. So if you're wondering if 2 days is enough time to see Rome, absolutely not. However, is 2 days enough to see a lot of Rome? If you plan it correctly, it absolutely can be. So what I did was I really thought of my must-see things. I knew that I wanted to see the Vatican, so that was first on my list. So day one, I booked a tour through, I think it was Guide Italia, I'll put the name down, and I booked the tour through them to go into the Vatican, because another tip is if you're short on time, sometimes it helps to book your tours through an agency that can give you a skip the line ticket. This really helped because let me tell you, when I showed up at the Vatican, everybody else was at the Vatican. There were a lot of people there, but it was deceiving because we didn't have to stay in that long line. So we queued in the line. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever. But we were able to walk around, go straight through the queue because there was a dedicated line for us. And before you know it, we were in the Vatican looking at all of the beautiful, amazing art and learning about all of the history of it. And we even got to visit the Sistine Chapel. So it was definitely worth it. And the price wasn't that expensive. It is a little bit more than if you were to buy it through the Vatican directly, but for me, it was worth it to skip the line so that we could, get through there as quickly as we could, since, it was a limited time thing. So another thing that I really wanted to see while I was in Rome was actually not in Rome, but in Pisa, because I had never seen the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And you know, you always see those iconic photos of people holding up the tower. You know, I geeked out. I wanted to experience that. So that involved a day trip. Totally doable, you guys. It is time consuming because the train took about, I want to say 3.5 hours to get from Rome into Pisa Central, or that's the station that you would get off. But it was really easy and straightforward. As a matter of fact, it is the same train that you would take to get from Rome to Civitavecchia. I know I'm saying that wrong. It's the same, but you would just go past that. So anybody who thought that Civitavecchia was far, because it's like a 45-minute train ride, just try going to Pisa. Then you will say that Civitavecchia is really kind of close, actually. But anyway, totally worth it. So we went, saw the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and kind of explored. There's a lot of walkable stores and restaurants, had lunch there, and really kind of took it in for a few hours, and then jumped on the train and headed back into Rome. And, you know, I also wanted to kind of get a feel of a neighborhood in Rome. And a lot of people had mentioned this neighborhood called Trastevere. And I am so glad that we went there. That was just the most fun, lively neighborhood. I mean, you have cafes open late, pizza shops, you have little bars that are open, but the best thing about it is the vibe. The people are out in the street and they're having a good time, and you just felt so welcome there. So I would really recommend that neighborhood day or night. Felt totally safe, totally fun, and it was a nice way to end off that day. So the next item on my must-see list was the Roman Colosseum. And I stopped by the reception desk at the Holiday Inn to ask for directions to get there, because I wanted to be adventurous again and take the train, which the amount it would have cost, to give you an example, an Uber would have cost about 40 euro to get from the hotel down to the Colosseum. And the train cost 3 euro. So it was definitely worth it. So she was very helpful, and you can listen in and see the instructions that she gave me to get down to the Colosseum.
Subway. Pyramid, 2 stops, you are in Colosseum, for example, okay? So 1.50, it is valid for the train and also for the subway, okay? 1 train, 1 subway.
1 train, and then we transfer at Ostia.
Yes, in Ostia, get off and walk until the subway, because you need to switch from the train to the subway station, okay? Same place, but you need to walk. Okay. Okay.
Now, usually when I'm in a city with a limited amount of time and I want to see all the sights, I like to hop on, hop off bus. But for Rome, I heard from a lot of people that the best way to see it really is on foot. So what I did is I booked a walking tour. And being a foodie, I opted for a walking tour that included tastings. And it was so nice, you guys. So this tour, we met up in a central plaza, and we actually, it was almost like having a progressive dinner. We started off with an appetizer where we had, I believe, some different cheeses and wine and different meats, almost like a charcuterie. And it was really nice. And it was a group of maybe about 6 or 8 of us, a nice intimate group. Everyone was so warm and welcoming, and we all just had the best time. I mean, it could have been the wine, I don't know, but there was wine at every stop. So the first stop we had was like the wine and cheese sort of course. Then we had an appetizer type course, which was fish and chips, which is what I understand kind of a traditional to have a fried dish for your appetizer. And that was really fun. And then we're walking, we're seeing the neighborhoods, we're seeing the shops, and we're talking. And then we end up at a restaurant where we have our main course. And we had a pasta dish with some salad and more wine. That was such a magical evening. And then we ended it with a nice stop of gelato. And everyone was talking about the pistachio gelato. So I had to try that. It was delicious. So that was just a wonderful way, if you guys are thinking about seeing some of the city on foot, but still having it structured so that you're getting history at the same time, you're meeting people. It was really just great. So that's how I ended off my second day in Rome. The last thing I tried to squeeze in was the Trevi Fountain. I didn't have time to see the Forum or some of the other sites, but I still felt that I got a lot in to say it was only 2 days. Totally worth it. If you have more time, there's so much more to see in Rome, so much more. It is really a city where the old and the new meet in just the best way. So I would highly recommend it if you can spend more time than that. But if you can't, don't be discouraged, because you can fit in a lot in only 2 pre-cruise days. So if you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, hitting that like button, and I'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.